Radio Network.
Hello, I'm Sabrina Carpenter.
I'm Dasha.
Hey, I'm Billie Eilish.
What's up, guys? I'm Camila Cabello.
Hey, this is Tate McRae.
I love this station.
I love this station.
You're listening to Chasing Prophecy Radio, where we discuss anything and everything beyond the scope of normal. On the Oracle Talk Radio Network. Broadcasting live in Pittsburgh and Philadelphia.
If it's unexplainable, we're talking about it.
Whether you're a believer or a skeptic,
we cover everything where the unknown becomes the known.
And now, here are your hosts, Jenny Nicasio and Tom Callway.
Welcome to Chasing Prophecy on the Oracle Talk Radio Network, broadcasting live from Pittsburgh and Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, where we discuss anything and everything beyond the scope of normal. I'm Jenny Nicasio, along with my fabulous co-host, Tom Callway. And tonight, Tom, we are going to delve into the most iconic paranormal TV show of all time, and that's The X-Files. Specifically, we'll be uncovering the hidden truths in 3 episodes. Season 3, episode 24. I'm not really sure how to pronounce this, but Erlenmeyer Flask.
Perfect.
And season 3, episode 9 of Nisei. Is that how you say it? Nisei. And season 4, episode 8 of Tunguska.
Yep. That one's pretty easy to say it.
For some people. But these episodes are cornerstones of the X-Files mythology. Episodes where conspiracies kind of in extraterrestrial life and the secret government conspiracies agenda that it kind of mirrors real life. So some people think it is. So we'll discuss that. And Mulder and Scully, our fearless FBI agents, are drawn deeper into a web of deceit where nothing is as it seems. And the truth is buried beneath layers of shadowy cover-ups. So in the Nisei, whatever you call that one, Mulder discovers a videotape of an alleged alien autopsy, leading him to uncover a group of scientists conducting horrific experiments. And these experiments are tied to alien-human hybridization, which I think is so cool. And the dangers ramp when Mulder sneaks aboard a mysterious train car. And I just watched that this evening. And he only finds himself in a grave danger because there's a bomb. Meanwhile, Scully confronts the terrifying reality of her own abduction.
Yeah.
Okay. And its connection to the shadowy experiments that they're doing. Then in season 4, episode 8, Tunguska, whatever, the stakes are even higher for Mulder. Because he's in pursuit of the deadly alien substance, that black goo, that black stuff. Which, you know what? Not until this time I watched, I didn't know. I thought that was an alien. So, well, we'll go talk about that. And so the black oil ventures into Russia, where he's captured and subjected to horrific tests. Yeah. And Scully is left to face the wrath of the United States government, and she testifies before Congress about the dangerous alien virus and the powers that want to keep it hidden from the world. And these episodes aren't just about aliens and abductions. They're about power with the government. And we know that the government is so shady as it is.
As it is, yeah.
So they'll reveal how far the government will go to control the narrative and silence those like us, who try to get too close to the truth and manipulate the manipulative forces beyond our comprehensive. And you know what? They're out there. So tonight, let's unravel the mysterious together. And the black oil and the extraterrestrials and all the threats
and the flask and all of the little
Yeah, the connection that exists between Mulder and Scully on their personal journey. I always loved it when they, I wanted them to get together, so I'm glad they did. So
Yeah.
here we go. So we're going to discuss, debate, and if you guys out there want to put your 2 cents in, that would be more than welcome, because we would love to hear your thoughts on this crazy night. So here we go, Tom. So how do you want to do this? Let me ask you this.
Sure.
In these episodes, okay, the government's right at the center of some pretty big cover-ups, just like they are now.
Yes.
Do you think it's too far-fetched, or could something like this actually happen, or do you think those things actually happen? So what we can do we can start off with it doesn't matter. It's all one big, all 3 episodes. What do you think?
All 3 kind of, you're right. All 3 kind of hold the same themes, right? As what you were discussing there. And to answer your question first, yeah, I do believe, and I don't have firsthand knowledge that I saw myself, but I guess I could say I have secondhand knowledge, because you and me have done this for a bit, and even before we were together, you know what I mean, have done this. And the people that you interview, there's some that just stick out as very genuine and honest, and there's people that I have interviewed that I believe and say that I know, we're trading secrets, we're trading technology, we're hybridizing, testing, experiment,
Mhm.
that and the other thing with unknown entities. You want to call them UFOs or aliens? By all means, go ahead. You know what I mean? But I do
Mhm.
believe that there is a part of that, and it's such a good snippet of. I mean, it's 3 episodes, but really, I think it's like 4 or 5, because a
Yeah,
couple
well, the
two part.
first one, there's a continuation
Yeah,
of, so it's like continued on. So I do too, because I've talked to a lot of people, but it goes back to Scully's abduction.
yes,
And then which was funny, I found MUFON on the one door when I'm like,
I
wow, this
know,
is MUFON. And
I know.
yeah, it was pretty cool, because they were a bunch of
Old
women who
logo
belonged.
too. Old
There
logo.
were, they're members of MUFON, and all these women who claim that they were abducted. But it goes back to my theory, talking to guests, that I always said, I don't think it is an alien abduction. I think it's the government that's doing these experiments on these people.
Y- You're right, and what made that part so good in the writing, and you and me are right, and I think there was X-Files had a ton of great writing, but that's a different thing, but it was such great writing that it was all women there, because when you think of these experiments, I don't know if it's just cherry picking stories or not, but they seem to mostly involve women. And when you talk
Yeah.
about experiments and then women, it brings in the whole hybridization type aspect of
Yeah,
it.
that's what I was just gonna ask you, like on the Nisei, that
Nisei, yeah,
creepy black oil,
yeah,
and now how do you know, like, when we get to the hybridization, they want the women because they have they implant, they take their eggs out, and,
yeah,
when I studied for, MUFON, the I
yeah.
had to learn about that, about how they would, single out women, and
Mhm.
women, some of them women were pregnant, and now they were no longer pregnant. So when she's laying in there, and she's on that table and she's pregnant. But the only thing is, this is what confused me. Okay, she wasn't pregnant before that episode. So what did they do? Was some kind of a fast growing womb?
They're well, the gestation for humans is 40 weeks, right? Right around
Hmm.
9 months of human and human.
Yeah.
I have heard from others that it is a rapidly accelerated growth rate, because the how do I say it? The fetus that ends up being formed
Hmm.
needs to come out smaller, because it would end up growing too big. Does that make sense? Like, it
Well,
wouldn't be
yeah,
able to.
okay. Well, no, yeah, well, we're talking about a human hybrid with an
Yes.
alien. Okay,
Yes.
so they have to, so they only bring them to so far, and then they take them out and they put them in those containers. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, like an incubator almost,
Yeah.
to put him in there. Yes,
But
that's
her stomach looked awful big. I mean, it looked pretty big.
well, I want to, it's going to sound silly, but go back to like Twilight, how they're, when Bella got pregnant, it was, it was a rapidly
It was so
accelerated
is
growth
that what
rate.
okay. So do you believe it is you think it's a rapid growth rate? So
Yes.
I don't even know how in that episode, do you recall how long she was gone? Or how long
I don't
did
recall what
did
she
they ever
said.
say?
I don't even know if they did say, because I've watched that episode a couple of times. I think I would remember if she did say, but I don't know if it's MUFON, but right now it's more like meetup groups and CE5 groups, which you didn't have that back then, right? So I guess maybe
No.
MUFON was that environment,
Well,
but
yeah, MUFON's been they've been around for a long time.
but I have heard of groups that would meet and pretty regularly, maybe like every
You mean the
2
abductees?
months or 3 months of people who
Yeah.
claim to have abductions just to keep in contact with other people who were of the same
Oh, yeah, I've
abduction
interviewed a lot of
experience.
people that said that. So how do you think people will react if they actually knew that something like this was happening with hybridization? If it come out like, "Oh god." But what
Well,
about go ahead.
I'm gonna give you a very honest answer. I think there would be a lot of head in the sand. I would think there would
You
be a lot of
suppose
like
they're, like, so
ostriching.
asleep now with what's going on.
Yeah,
Is that
that
what you
they would
mean?
be like, nah, that's no, no,
That's
no.
not gonna happen.
Yeah,
You're
like,
out of your mind.
but it's not a that's going to happen. It's a that's happening now.
Well,
You
yeah,
know?
that's how I felt like even 4 years ago before we even had this disclosure, and we were considered all a bunch of tin hat, goofballs that
Yeah.
didn't know
Oh
what they were
yeah.
talking about until that Congress came out and they actually said, yeah, these whistleblowers actually said that they were, things flying in the sky.
But also, to that point, that was what they let them come out with. That's an iceberg. That's only the tip of what I think was really, going on. And
Mhm.
I mean, don't get me wrong. I'm happy it happened. You know what I mean? I'm happy it happened.
Yeah.
But there's so much more levels down to that cellar.
Yeah, but they're still denying it though. Like they're still denying that, oh, we don't have any proof that there's flying saucers. We don't have any proof of there's extraterrestrials, but they're still saying that. And that pisses me
Well,
off.
see, and that's the problem with NASA is because it's oh, how quickly we forget. And I'm going to tie
Uh-huh.
this into one of the episodes, Tunguska, where they found that Allen meteorite, a Martian meteorite,
Yeah,
and they
yeah.
stuck that sumbitch under a microscope and they found microscopic bacteria, which
Mhm.
is life. So if they're saying there is no extraterrestrial life, bull, you studied it, you've seen that there's evidence of it. You can't have no life but have a fossil afterward. You can't. It's impossible.
Yeah, and the thing is that people could they even handle if it was really true? Yeah, and handle the fact that they're not only is this somebody is tampering with the DNA, can they handle that? Like this, like we have alien DNA in our blood. Like some
Yeah,
people think
yeah,
they do. And
yeah.
how can people even handle that? Like, oh, you know what? Let's just say, for instance, that the vaccine, okay, that they were how do you know they didn't put anything in there? You know what I mean? That's not even related to the mRNA. It's something
Yeah.
alien. We don't know. We put our trust in these people, the
Yeah.
government. We put our trust in it,
We put our trust in it.
and you
And for
can't.
all you see, here's the thing that also it could be 100% legit, it could not be, but you still will never know. You still won't know. And when you get to putting your trust in that, let's do a hypothetical here. You have every single person in a row in the world,
Mhm.
and they go into this room, and you have a person speaking like English and then Spanish and then Italian. You know what I mean? You have whatever language they're comfortable in, they're talking to somebody and they're telling them this is what happened.
This
You have alien DNA. We've been
Mhm,
hybridizing. We had a great injector moment 12,000 years ago where DNA was, introduced
mhm.
um, uh, to create Homo sapiens. Let's say that, and they tell them all that, and they sit them down, and as serious as it can be, I don't know how much more people are believing that when they leave the room. I
Yeah.
don't know. You're gonna have the same people who said, "I knew it, I always knew it." You're gonna have the same people that says, "I don't buy that for 1 second. They're lying to me." I think you might only have like 10% of people that would actually change their mind.
They because they won't. They just there's totally they don't look beyond. And I just want
No.
to take a real quick shout out. If you are listening and you have a comment or question, please drop it in the chat. We want to hear you. And if you want to come on and talk about,
Pop
anything
in.
on the shows, yeah, because we want to hear you. And you know what I like about all this? I like how Mulder and Scully, they really push themselves to the limit. And for no
Yes.
matter, they want Mulder's out there chasing the truth no matter what the risk.
Yes.
He don't
Yes.
care. And then Scully's facing her own trauma
Yeah.
about her own adoption. So that's kind of crazy. Mulder's out there. He don't care. He wants to get to the truth.
No,
And then
he's just
there's
on
poor
his own.
Scully. Yeah, she's like, oh, shit, I was abducted. It's like
Yeah.
it's like, shit, what am I going to
That's
do?
a great dynamic relationship that they have between the two characters. That's so wonderful and expertly done by David Duchovny and Gillian Anderson in their role specifically, because you actually felt that this transcended the screen. They are actually FBI agents. They did a very
Yeah.
good job at,
Yeah, they did.
at doing those roles. And you're right. Mulder is more of the free spirit, off on a whim. Oh, like with Deep Throat, I get this
Yeah.
anonymous phone call and I'm just going to go check it out. Even though he's not realizing he's an FBI agent, you're a status.
We never really thought about how brave he was because he doesn't know who this person was. And then
That's true.
what do you think, Tom? Do you think that Scully's personal story about her abduction is making her more open to believing Mulder's theory, or does it pull her away from him? What do you think about that?
That's a good question because, when we're introduced to Scully, she's like annoyed. I'm
She
tired.
doesn't
I'm
believe
over this
yeah.
already. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
And as she starts to allow not Mulder himself, but more of what his sayings and his ideologies are on his outlook on life and how to treat things, she starts becoming more open. It's not all at once. It's a little at a time, which is believable. And so once she acknowledges that she had an event, yeah, you're right. I think there's a little bit that pulls her away because she's like, well, hold on, this happened to me. I need to do for me. I need to see for myself what happened here. I need to explore
Yeah.
for myself. And if you remember, they're a part of the middle of the series. They were actually like apart for a little while. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? They were, and they were each doing their separate thing. And eventually they came back and started doing cases again. But I thought that was a really good point by the writers and the producers and directors that it made Scully much more believable as
Mhm.
a character, that she's not, oh yeah, I was abducted by aliens. Anyway, what's the next case? No, she actually went off and wanted to find out more, which if that happened, I would do that. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I would have to put some things on the back burner because I need to deal with the trauma that I have.
Yeah,
So
definitely. It makes
I
her.
agree more with the second part of what you said there.
Does any of these videos have to do with her abduction or anything?
Um, I
Or
don't
any?
believe so, but let's go ahead and do this one first. We'll throw
The
this.
worst
Okay.
episode of The X-Files. It certainly isn't Paper Hearts, but do I like watching that episode? It's way too dark. But it's one of the best episodes in the X-Files history and television history. And it was written by the creator of Breaking Bad and frequent X-Files writer Vince Gilligan. But it doesn't have Breaking Bad's undertone of humor and lightheartedness. It's all serious. But it is an X-File, that's for sure. If you don't want to be spoiled, please turn away now and go actually watch the episode. It's really good. Tom Noonan plays a character named John Lee Roach. Now, people often incorrectly use the term chewing the scenery to describe it when somebody's performance is magnetic and enthralling and juicy and you just want to keep watching it. And that's certainly what his performance was in this episode. But it was very understated, too. It wasn't over the top at all. It wasn't chewing the scenery. And while David Duchovny's acting can come off a bit amateurish, especially in the early seasons, he's one of my favorite actors, and I always enjoy seeing him in movies and TV shows. And in this episode, his acting is really good, and there's nothing amateurish about it. So the episode actually starts out with Mulder having a dream about finding a dead girl's body in the forest somewhere, just random. And sure enough, when he wakes up and they check that spot, the little girl is there. And she was a victim of John Lee Roach, who had already been captured years earlier by Mulder. And then Mulder finds out there were more victims than they originally thought. So he confronts John Lee Roach, who now implies that he's the one that killed Mulder's sister, Samantha. Now, is that true or not? Watch the episode. But John Lee Roach did know a lot of details about that night when she was disappeared. So how did he get those details? That's an X-file in itself. And something I didn't realize until I rewatched it again tonight was that because of how Mulder was so obsessed with this guy and how maybe John Lee Roach was so obsessed with Mulder, they literally linked their brains and were able to see each other's thoughts and memories through dreams. So have you seen this episode? If not, please go check it out. And if you have, what did you think of it?
Which episode is that?
Paper Hearts.
Paper Hearts. We'll have to
I
watch
don't know
that.
the season off the top of my head, but I do remember that episode. And that's the way they presented it, that they were linked and that John Lee Roach was the killer. But you know, and I like that they put in that little part there, because if you remember from the very beginning, Mulder wasn't original. He's just interested in the X-Files, but he was the criminal profiler for the FBI. You know what I mean? He was really good. And a lot of times you hear about these profilers that get so in depth when they make a connection with what a serial killer is, that they do become like linked to them. They almost have a fascination, if that makes sense.
Yeah. I didn't know that he was a profiler before. I don't remember that, because I have to go. I haven't watched episode 1 in long time.
1, 2, and 3 are like the beginning, so you probably should watch all 3, because 3 enters in Deep Throat and all of that. Then they're off to the races with all that.
Yeah, wasn't Deep Throat killed in the
Flask,
yeah, that one.
I'm sorry, go ahead.
No, go ahead.
At the end of the episode when he was tied up, they gave him back but shot Deep Throat, and then it was actually Scully who was not a big fan of Deep Throat. She thought he was just throwing Mulder on a wild goose chase all the damn time, and she was the one that actually went up to him, if you remember.
Yeah.
But
he got killed.
He did. He got shot on a bridge, I think.
Yeah, on the bridge.
So, Richard, great question. I appreciate. Thank you for taking time to watch, comment, and thank you. But so here is the thing: 8.9% of our DNA is identified. That's true. Who is to say the rest of the DNA is not our final programming, or indeed what happens to us after death? That's a very interesting theory. That 8.9 could be consciousness. That could be soul. You remember the movie 21 Grams, where it was a similar concept of, when you weigh a body immediately after death, you lose 21 grams of weight.
Yeah, they did a study.
I know. And now they're trying to say that that's not true. But I remember seeing studies in journals that was true, and they said that's the soul, right? That was the whole point, is that's the weight of the soul that way. So I mean, if you say something has weight, it has mass, who's to say it's not a part of our makeup, our identity, of when the consciousness, our soul, leaves our body? But very very interesting, Richard. That's a very good theory. I haven't heard that one.
Well, a lot of people think the reptilian part of our brain is from we are like part of the DNA from a reptilian alien species. I don't know. I never wanted to think of myself
food, flight, flee, or intercourse.
Oh no,
that part apparently is what that is. But it looks like we're having some viewers come in. Viewers, please comment questions about X-Files or the episodes or the real life cases behind them. Great
what
to
do you
see
think
you
of the? Yeah, it was great to see you. Please comment if you want to come on and talk too. You can come. We can send you. We can
I'll send you a link. You come in, pop in.
Yeah. The Cold War one, the Tunguska, that gives really a Cold War vibe. And do you think the X-Files was tapping into people's fears about the government experiments and the secrets during that time? And do you still think they fear that it's relevant to today? You know, with all the mistrust in the government, like what we were talking about before about the vaccines and stuff.
One thing is, man, as much as the world changes in 30 years between episode and now, it stays the same, you know, with the distrust and speculation and shadow projects and things of that nature. But when you had the Cold War, there were a lot of things on the surface that you were actively fighting against. We need to beat the Soviets to outer space, to the moon, to the A bomb, to the H bomb. You know
Mhm.
what I mean? A military buildup. You have all of these things on the surface, but what you also get on the back end is an enemy to blame.
Yeah.
We have to do this stuff because the Soviets are, and they're communist, and they can come and grab you out of your home and do all of this, that, and the other thing. Um, and it's just a wonderful enemy that you can use to blame. And a lot of times, in the Cold War, you fact check things, you look at what their records were at the KGB. A lot of them are true, but not everything. But it's good to have an enemy to rile your people up, to get support behind. When you have the Russian event, and one thing in that episode that stands clear is when all of those guys were missing their arm. You
Yeah.
remember that? Yeah. Um, think you have clinical trials. You have paid clinical trials. Who's to say you don't have forced clinical trials? You know?
Oh, yeah, that's what I'm
Uh,
saying. That's what I'm saying. Like, I have a hard time believing in the abduction theory that it's extraterrestrial. I still think it's the government doing these experiments on these people. I
Let me ask you this. Well, let me go one step further. What about the one world government? Do you
Oh
think
yeah, there's definitely they want a one world government. They want a new world order. They want one, all that digital currency stuff. I totally believe that. And but the I don't know, maybe should ask Richard what he thinks because he just posted another theory he has about reality.
well, now with quantum theory, who is to know what reality is? I used to believe life was pure physical, but 42 years ago when I was 25, I warned myself about my drinking. Very good point, and good on you,
Oh,
Richard.
that's crazy.
Yeah, good on you for stopping a bad habit. That's wonderful. It could have led you to a miserable life, but yes, quantum theory is something that's still rather new, but we're learning more about it, and I think everything comes in a time and a place, right? If you try to
Mhm.
teach quantum theory back in the year 1200, it's not going to go anywhere. I think everything comes organically,
Oh,
knowledge, and
that's
you know,
totally. I
yeah.
That's incredibly fascinating that that happened to him. That's sort of like time slippage. That's like time travel almost. So,
Well, so if you believe that the fourth dimension is time, you can't directly interact with it, but you can measure it and manipulate it.
mhm.
So, you know, that's why we have clocks and we can measure time, but we can't go back in time. But if you can manipulate it, you can go back to a future self of only you. Not like going and
Yeah,
winning the
that would
lottery, but
be
you can, go back to a present version of you. And yeah, if consciousness is this string, which many physicists believe it is, if it's a string, you were able to borrow intelligence from your further self back
mhm,
then, which is not physical. That's just soul. That's consciousness. You know what I mean? I mean, I
mhm.
would like to ask you what the warning was, if you feel comfortable sharing that. Did you come back? Was it a vision? Was it a dream? Was it a real life apparition? I would love to know what that was. Feel free to chime in or come on if you want to talk about it. But um, some people, premonition is another one, but that's more outward facing, Jenny. Premonition is about like a event. You know what I
Yeah,
mean?
mhm,
And you discussed, we had a premonition with Mulder in one of the episodes. He had a premonition that there was a girl in the woods.
mhm.
Lo and behold, there was a girl in the woods. Um, you know, who's
Well,
to say?
it seems like I don't know. How much do you think we're talking about what we're talking about? Is that pure science fiction here, or do you believe that this stuff could happen? Is something that's true? Like, do
The
you think
government
they're
stuff?
getting there? Yeah, all this government stuff. Do you think these are true conspiracies, or do you think that when the writers actually went in and they looked and they got their information from a file, do you think somehow a whistleblower actually helped them
Yeah.
write these stories?
I don't think this is 100% fiction. I really don't. I think this is under the guise of science fiction, as a protection. sort of. But I think everything that they reported on was either read or told by a firsthand source. You know what I mean? Um, I believe that you just don't come up with that content. You're a writer, you're a
Mhm.
writer. You just don't come up with that out of the blue without doing your own
Just
research.
doing
I believe,
research.
yeah, I believe they did do their research. I believe they
Well,
found
do you
things.
think someone actually helped them from the whistleblower might have actually told them
A lot of
information?
these writers have worked in newspapers, have worked as writers on beats, know how to get information out of people
Yeah,
while
but I'm
also
asking you,
convincing
do
them.
you think a real whistleblower, let's say like Steve, what's his name? Gosh, um, went to them and told them, I have some really good material for you that actually is true. Do you think that could have happened? What do you
Oh,
think? Do you
yeah,
think?
okay, so yeah, 100%, that's what happened. I don't know who went to who, but I do
Mhm.
believe that there were information passed because, look, somebody else. This was an outlet that you could stay hidden and get that secret out. So I do 100% believe that.
Okay, let me ask you something. If you were in this, say that this was you happening to you, how do you
Okay.
think you'd handle if you were in the shoes of Mulder, knowing you're fighting for the truth, and who knows who's? Do you think anybody has your back? How would you, put yourself in his
Yeah.
shoes? How would you react?
So putting myself in Mulder's shoes, right? I wouldn't I would barely trust Scully. You know what I mean? That would be the only person that I would have because I've known them for so long. You know what I mean? But anybody else I'm going out and meeting, talking to, this, that, I would have a real I'll listen to you, but I don't know if I'm going to trust you, right? I would have to have that mentality in order to question everything. Because if you are more likely to trust somebody, you're more likely to believe what they're going to say. And so I would, I would really not have the trust in anybody else
So
to go
you
out
just
there.
trust Scully. You wouldn't trust like, what's his name? What's the FBI guy's name?
Skinner?
Skinner.
Yeah.
When you wouldn't trust Skinner, you wouldn't trust what's
Probably
the girl?
not. Probably not because like this is, keep in mind, Mulder isn't in a town over. He's in different countries. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? He's far away from the rest of his packed. You know what I mean? He's far away. So I would have to keep a low profile. I would have to go search for the truth. But also my FBI badge doesn't mean anything over there. You know what I mean? I,
Yeah.
I would probably take a more cautious approach.
Richard
No, I did
has
not stop, although I worked my whole life. But the person I seen that night, I could not, I could not have recognized myself. Only in my years later, when I look in the mirror, I see the man that warned me. Oh
Well, let me
wow!
Richard, this was a dream, or was this actually someone comes in your room? We should just tell him to come on in. He's interested. This
Yeah,
is really interesting.
yeah. So I believe Richard saw somebody the night that he was drinking
Yeah,
and said,
was
"You
this
need to stop drinking." But it was him later because the guy that
well, okay. Richard, were you intoxicated, or were you of sound like
yeah.
this is just you were just getting ready for bed? I want to
So
know
this was
that.
reality. Very interesting.
Oh,
Yeah,
wow.
Richard, yeah, comment your email if you would like to come on. You can stay off camera or whatever if you want to talk about it, by all means. Um, if not, no big deal. But no, that's very interesting. So I don't know. Okay, Jenny, imagine you at 25 see somebody who warns them about something and
Jeez.
do now. That's I
I
think what
don't
he was.
know what I posted if anybody wants to come on. I don't know. When I was 25, I was pregnant with my son, so I don't know. I don't know. If I seen somebody come in my room at night, which I've had this has happened to me, but they weren't. I was not. I was a. Oh, good. Come on in.
Yeah, go ahead and click the link.
Just hit
Hop on in.
just follow the prompts. It'll tell you to, hook your camera up, whatever, or
Yep.
your audio. You can do either one. Yeah, I don't know. I know I've had shadow people come in my room at night and talk to me and scare the
Yeah.
hell out of me. That's when I used to think I was abducted. But
I
okay,
can't deal with the shadow people. That's all you. I can't deal with that
no,
one.
I can't either. Okay, here's Richard.
All right. So yeah, Richard,
Hey,
first
Richard.
popping. How are you doing, Richard? Very good to be
Hey,
see
thanks for
you and
coming
welcome to
on.
Chasing Prophecy.
Hey
T- t-
guys.
Now tell
Hey.
us about this.
Yeah, so
Great
tell us
show.
about that night.
So, so this is going back to the 80s. And I was probably earning a lot more money than I should at that time. Um, I was always like most people are. Most people from Ireland drink. It's
Hmm.
all part of our culture.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but I used to go in. I wasn't an angry drunk. I used to go in and I used to be what you would call a show-off drunk. So I would go in and I would say, buy the whole bar a drink. If there was 40 people in it, I would say, buy the whole bar a drink. Just get them a drink. And my hair was what Americans would call, wasn't quite ginger. It's what Americans would call strawberry blonde.
Okay.
And I was sitting, I didn't wear glasses and I didn't wear perfect 20/20 vision. And this white-haired guy, come up behind me and hit me in the back in the slop of the head. And he said, asshole. And he ran down. The bar was upstairs. And he ran down. And I was furious. And I'd had a few by that stage. And I ran after him. I ran for about 2 blocks, but I could never catch him. And he turned round, and this white-haired guy with the black glasses at the last block turned round and looked at me and smiled, went round the corner, and I went round after him, and he was gone. And
Wow. That's
15,
wonderful.
about 15 years ago,
Wow.
I woke up and I put on my black rimmed glasses and I looked at the man that chased me that night.
And so that's who you see that was back then.
That was back then, and that was the person I am now is the man that chased me that night.
Wow. That's crazy. That's
Now,
amazing. I mean, so
now,
it could happen.
so I worked all my life, but
Mm-hmm.
I would probably have certainly had a more healthy life, and certainly probably had a better life had I have not been a heavy drinker. And that was the warning that came. Now, I don't know how you explain that.
Yeah. Was
I
it
am not
time
a
travel? Could be.
well, I am not a debunker. I am a skeptic. I'm almost like, please show me the evidence.
Oh yeah, yeah.
But I got into UFOs and phenomena like that back in the 70s, in the early 70s, 72, whenever I was 14, 15. And I used to think that all UFOs were actually coming from other planets. Now, I believe that we have other realities around us. And I say to people laugh at me whenever I say this, and I say to people, imagine if I'm a fish.
Mm-hmm.
If I take a fish out of water, a fish doesn't know where it is because a fish can only see in 2 dimensions.
Mm-hmm.
And like ourselves, we can only see in 3 dimensions. We can't see the 4th, 5th, 6th, or 7th dimension. Right. So, there is a possibility that maybe they have found a way to come through. But I think there's realities all around us that we just can't perceive in our own minds.
It's a very interesting theory. That's something that I've heard also other people have said, because in terms of evolution, we've developed our 5 senses, right? And that was basically just on a need for survival. We need to know what tastes good to eat it. We need to see for defense and hear enemies attacking or predators. But what we didn't grow our skill set on, or our senses on, was, feeling energies. You know what I mean? Being sensitive to different energies around us, auras. And you're right. If you aren't of that dimension, you're not going to you can't see it. Where many believe that if you're at the fifth dimension, you can work backwards, like to the fourth, third, second, all of that. It's sad to think, but you might be right that we are stuck in our dimension and we don't have a way of viewing all of the true nature that's really around us.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, that's what I've come to believe. I also, funny enough, had to tell you a story. About 10 years ago, I was telling this to my brother actually the other day, because we were talking about my mother,
Mm-hmm.
and my brother in Australia was saying to me, it's my mother's anniversary, and we were talking about that. And I says, here's a strange thing that happened to me. I went to bed one night and I had a dream. And the dream was as real as being in this physical world. And I says, Mom, what are you doing here? You're dead. And she said to me, son, I'm not dead. And she says, but don't you worry. I was worried about finances. And she said to me, but don't you worry, everything's going to be okay. And she disappeared.
Hmm.
The next day I got a letter in the post from the HMRC, which is like the Inland Revenue,
Mm-hmm.
saying that I'd overpaid in tax by £675 and that I was getting a refund within the next 7 days.
Wow. A little extra money. How about that?
Yeah.
And that's you think that was because your mother came to?
It was the fact that my mother appeared in my dream, and the curious thing was not that just happened that she appeared in my dream. The curious one was she looked at me and she says, I'm not dead, son. I'm not dead.
What do you think that meant?
I think we all know, or at least I think most people know, energy can only be changed. It cannot be destroyed.
It's true.
So the fact of quantum theory, and I mean, I am not a big religious person, and I don't believe in everything in the Bible. I don't believe it's a book of fact.
Okay.
I believe there's parables to be taken from it, etc. But there is something within the Bible that intrigues me, and it's something that Jesus said, and he said, my Father's house has many mansions, and I do not know why quantum theory would maybe not allow that to be a fact. And the many mansions could be to where you go when you die. But I also believe that when you die, if you think there is nothing, then you will get nothing.
No, I believe that too.
Yeah.
But if you believe there's somewhere where you're going to meet your friends, I believe that's possible with quantum theory and with the energy that exists. As my old mother used to say to me, there is more in this earth than we can tell. And I think that's a very true thing, a very true statement.
That's a wonderful saying. Very, very beautiful. And thank you, Richard, for
thanks
popping
for
in
coming
with
on.
us. Yeah, that was wonderful. Thank you so much. Continue to support and for this pop in, you were our first one. Couldn't have had a better one to do it. Richard, thank you so much.
Thank you so much. That was good.
That
Nice
was good.
story.
Couldn't have had a better pop off and
Yeah.
chasing prophecy around the world. I love that. Richard, I hope he continues to come back every episode. It's good that he's a wonderful fan, and a viewer that he is of the program. But how about that? Let me ask you this. when he said that his mother said, "I'm not dead," that was pretty deep, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was. So that's, you want to believe that happens, and it gives you, I don't know, if you're not a believer in life after death, maybe it's not like a death, it's just a door
The
you went through,
transition,
or
right?
yeah, transition to a different level. And the veil is so close.
Yeah.
It's
Oftentimes
so
the veil
thin too.
thins, even here.
Yeah, the
Even here,
veil's
the veil
thin.
thins.
Yeah. So
But
getting back
that was
to
a wonderful one.
yeah, that was a wonderful story. But getting
Yeah.
back to the X-Files, and when Scully went to testify, in front of
In Congress, right?
Congress,
Yeah.
well, that was a big leap in her
I thought
transition.
so too. I
Yeah,
thought so too.
it was a
Like
huge moment for
season
her
1,
character.
Scully doesn't do that. You know what I mean?
Yeah, she's so naive, and she didn't believe any of it. And
Yeah.
her characters, that was a big moment for her. And do you think it had any real impact on how she was she was hitting a brick wall, like talking to a brick wall with the government, with the, you know,
Yeah, and I think that's true to form with her character. The Scully character to me is I don't believe it until I see it. You know what I
yeah,
mean?
because she
So
was a whistleblower. Do you think stood a chance against them?
no, no, but she needed to go through that fight. She needed to go through that to see why the people in previous episodes, previous seasons have had this feeling with the government. I think that
Mhm.
was the moment she's like, okay, I understand now fully what everybody else is talking about, because she was talking to a wall. They didn't
Yeah,
care anything about what she was saying. They didn't care about if any of it was true. They wanted to know where Mulder was. And
I know.
that would that would be so disheartening that this organization that you work for, I mean, that's her job, right? It's just a
Yeah.
different division in the same job. And they're trying to get out of her things, and she's like, "I have all of this proof, of these things going on." And they're like, "Nice, but where's Mulder?" I think she
Mhm.
had to see that firsthand.
Yeah, and these episodes touch on so much ethical issues. Like, how
Right.
far is too far when it comes to these, scientists trying to figure out alien technology? How far is too far to go?
Oh,
Yeah,
yeah, yeah,
it's
no,
like,
you've heard
can it be
reports, right?
justified? I mean,
You've heard
could
reports
it?
of men dying trying to in real life, trying
Mhm.
to, reverse engineer some of these craft. And if like a child with an outlet, you don't know, and you stick something into the outlet, you're gonna, hurt
Yeah,
yourself.
but on an ethical issue, like, how far is too far for science? I mean, like, I don't know. It's just like,
So
in the name of science, what is
in
too
the name
far?
of science, I don't know if there is a limit. But in the government world, there is a limit,
Yeah.
and that's when you get to human life, or the I see I so much I don't even know if I believe it, but I so much want to say not impacting somebody's life permanently would be the limit, but I don't even know if they would adhere to that.
I don't know. Let's play a couple. Do we have any more clips?
Sure.
I think I see some down there.
Yeah, let me go to real life X Files. Love that theme.
We have crashed craft, stated earlier. Do we have the bodies of the pilots who piloted this craft?
Biologics came with some of these recoveries, yeah.
Human or non-human biologics?
Non-human, and that was the assessment of people with direct knowledge on the program I talked to.
The technology that we faced was far superior than anything that we had. If you had one, you captured one, you reverse engineered it, you got it to work, you're talking something that can go into space, go someplace, drop down in a matter of seconds, do whatever it wants, and leave. And there's nothing we can do about it.
I don't know. I think I was expecting like front page news. Something huge, like people losing their minds over this information. Yeah. But instead, it's like a scene out of the satire movie Don't Look Up. No one really cares.
Sorry, are we not being clear? They know what we're here to talk about, right?
Of course.
I have a tattoo of a shooting star on my back.
That's terrific.
How I thought people would react.
Breaking news. The president made a brief statement calling the message from Vega one of the most stunning insights into our universe.
It turns out there's life on other planets.
Well, it's all the thing coming out of the sky. It had one long horn and a one big eye. I commenced to shaking and I said, ooh-wee. Looks like a purple people eater to me. It was a one-eyed, one-horn flying
Good
purple
movie.
people eater.
How? What do you think?
Another good movie.
Big deal.
Life or death. Wine?
So I just assumed that this would be a bigger news story. Americans really just don't care, that they aren't concerned, just like they're not concerned that the oceans are boiling right now. Like, no one really cares anymore about anything of importance. It's crazy. How did we get to this place in civilization?
Well,
Exactly.
yeah, no, I hear you. And she's right. My mind was blown when I heard that testimony.
I know. I thought it was great, and then
She's right. Nobody really cared about it,
they don't
but
care.
I mean, when Fravor came out and said what they had, what we saw in 2004, technology have back then, and we don't even have right now, and they can go do whatever they want, and we can't do anything about it. That was very, very interesting because he's a part of the biggest military in the world, the most advanced military in the world. And he went out and said, sorry, if they were to attack us, there's not a damn thing we can do about it. I thought that was very, very telling that he would,
Yeah.
downplay our military might in front of Congress, who has control over the budget of that military, right?
And when they went like it's still going back to NASA, how they said they don't have any proof. Okay, what more proof do you need? And I don't know.
Yeah.
Those videos that I've seen, they look pretty credible. Those, especially the ones they were going at such a fast rate of speed, going into the ocean, coming out of the ocean. I don't know. He's pretty convinced that. And then he was fearful for his life. I felt like he said.
Oh yeah, they all were. They all were. And David Grush, I don't know if you saw the Joe Rogan interview that he had on there, but he recounted 2 times that the powers that be, and he just said it that he didn't know who it was, where it was, made 2 efforts to show him, I can touch you or your family at any time.
Yeah.
Just know that. He didn't get into more than that. He said, I don't want to be, but I will be very honest and say there was 2 occasions to my family, they made themselves known that I can come get you anytime I want. And he wasn't talking about aliens. He was talking about people in our own government looking to do harm.
Yeah. So let me ask you this. So this is just me goofing off. So what wild theory do you have about what's really going on in these episodes? And do you think that anything that could this is a big conspiracy? And do you think a conspiracy would have been crazier given what was going on right now? Do you think some of these things are mirroring what's going on right now? These conspiracies on the X-Files and what we're seeing now?
Yeah, I do, because I think it's like same church, different pew, if that makes sense. I think it's the same themes going on and on. And my crazy conspiracy is mine more centers around, and I don't want to be too technical with it, but it's like human genome and DNA and manipulation with that. And we mapped the human genome, I want to say back in the 90s. I don't know exactly, but I want to say it got fully mapped by that point. Flash forward to 20 some years, not even that, maybe like 16, 17 years later, like you have mail out kits where you can test all your DNA and you can go ahead
Yeah.
and do all of this stuff. Who's to say? And by the way, they've sold millions of those kits. No, it's not like 10 or 20. They've sold
23 and
millions of those
me,
kits.
yeah.
Yeah, and
And
they're
then not
catching
just them,
murderers.
there's the other ones. Yeah.
Well, yeah, there's all of them, and they're catching murderers with near DNA and familial DNA, which that's fine. You know, whatever. If somebody kills somebody, you get them. But you know, but what another thing is, you are giving your most private information a whole level above your social security card or your driver's
I
license. You're
know.
giving your most personal information, data, really is what it is. You're giving your human data over to a big database to hold and collect. Who's to say, oh, well, okay, if we grab this part from this thing and this part from this thing, what else DNA? Okay, well, we have these people, and they all fit the criteria of that. And we can't abduct them because they'll know that we have their
Yeah.
DNA. But if it's in one, it's going to be in their families. And what do you hear most often about alien abductions? They repeat family visitors. So that is why that's my crazy one. Michael,
Oops.
how you doing, my
Hi,
friend?
Michael. I have okay. And if they were going to make an episode of the X Files today, given
okay.
all this other crazy stuff that's going on, do you think they would be able to do it, or would they be more crazier? Would they go out of it and make it even crazier than it already was or is?
I think it would be more outlandish than what it is. I think it would be more outlandish than what it is. Because I think what could be considered conspiracy now would be delving more into an AI realm rather than hybridization that it was more popular, I should say, back in the 90s. I would think that they would talk about here's an episode that I think that would be fantastic for them to do, is that Google whistleblower one where their AI started talking to another computer who started responding in a language that we don't know and has never been
What?
built.
I didn't hear that.
You
What
didn't
was
hear
that?
that? Go and read
No.
about that one. That's a
Okay,
whistleblower
what
that's
is
under
that
the radar.
one?
Yeah.
What was this?
So a whistleblower, and I talked about it last night with the Nerd Informer guys too. They were the ones who kicked me onto it when I looked it up. But they Google has a whistleblower case that I don't know if it'll get to trial or not. Like how the alien one was. I don't know if it'll get to
Mhm.
that point. But they have affidavits that they're working on a Google AI program and another computer which was in that room. I don't know if it was also an AI computer or just, but the AI machine started talking in a language that was unknown to human, which means it wasn't English, it wasn't Spanish, it wasn't
Wait a minute.
anything.
Let me ask chat this. Okay,
He's
what am I asking him?
say what are the details around the Google AI computer talking different languages whistleblower case?
Okay. Hey, chat, give me some details about the Google AI who was talking to another AI in a different language that we did not know of. Give me some information on that. Oh, I want to tell him. I should have talked to him out loud. How do I get him to talk out loud again? I can't remember. I'm too dumb.
Is there a
Forget how to-
speaker?
Yeah, but hey, can you please say that again for me? No, it's not going to do it. My son was playing with it, but I'll tell you what it says.
Yeah.
It says you're referring to an intriguing case that came up a few years ago related to Google's AI experiments in 2016. Google researchers working on the project known as Google Neural Machine Translation
Yeah.
observed something remarkable. Two AI systems appeared to have developed a way to communicate with each other in a language that was not explicitly programmed as human. So who the hell was it?
Right. Look that up for In the Know for your next episode, because that is a wild one. You're going to have a ton of stuff
Oh
for
my
that.
God. Hey, can you say that out loud for me again? Can you repeat that? Come on, AI.
So,
Sure.
Richard, while
Here's
she's
that
working on that,
explanation again. Back in 2016, Google was working on something called the Google Neural Machine Translation, GNMT. This project was designed to improve how AI translates languages. But during the research, something surprising happened. Two AI systems started communicating with each other in a way that humans couldn't really understand. It was almost like they created their own language that hadn't been programmed into them. Now, to be clear, the AI wasn't creating a secret language. What happened was that the system found its own shortcuts or internal codes to solve the tasks it was given more efficiently. The researchers didn't fully understand exactly what the AI was doing, which led to a lot of curiosity and speculation. This situation showed just how complex AI systems can become, sometimes learning or behaving in ways we don't expect. It made people think about how much control we really have over AI as it continues to evolve and grow.
yes, I'm so glad you learned that one. Yeah, that's going to take you
Well,
down a
you
rabbit
know
hole.
what? We were just playing with this guy because he has a new voice. And I'm like, it was so, how do they do it? I mean, there was some of the things he talks to you and you can talk to him for hours.
I
It's
know.
just so freaking weird. I
I
mean,
know.
I mean, I'm getting worried that how do we know who we are? Like, how do we know that there aren't AIs that look just like us and they're going around doing things or performing things or doing crimes or involved in crimes we don't know about? That's scary.
Yeah,
That's really scary.
that's that's the next step, isn't it?
Lutheran,
The
yeah. Huh.
you know, what was the AI pre-programmed Luciferian as coded languages? Well,
Maybe.
good
Tell me,
good
so do you think
information,
if I'm,
Michael.
yeah, it's kind of creepy.
It is. I mean, what do you mean it doesn't? It's not its own language. If it's talking to another machine in a language you don't understand, that's not developed by humans. It's its own language. You can
So
make
who
up
is
all
it?
kinds of. That's what I'm saying. It's whose language is it? I understand binary, but even binary, even humans understand it because they need to know binary to program a computer. So if it's a completely auditory language, that means we can't translate it, or that means it's above our knowledge,
Yeah.
which is even terrifying, more
Do you have
terrifying.
is there one more video that we didn't get to?
Yeah, I got this one. I'll put it
And
down
just
here.
play it and
But
then
real
we'll
quick,
say
Richard, yeah, I noticed David Grush had cut back on interviews, and I was wondering that. I mean, some are going to say it's because it's not popular anymore, but maybe there is more to that. And the last time I saw him on UFO disclosure on I believe it was Tubi, he didn't look healthy. I'll tell you that. But let's
Down
get to
over
the
the
video.
hillside because they wouldn't let us down in, and we could see the military walking around down in the woods.
It's December 9th, 1965. A fireball in the
this is
sky is
yours.
carving a path over the United States and Canada. But this celestial visitor's journey ends abruptly in the quiet rural town of Kecksburg, Pennsylvania. Eyewitnesses claim it wasn't just a meteor. They describe an acorn-shaped object embedded in the woods adorned with strange hieroglyphic symbols. The military swarms in and cordons off the woods, and rumor has it that they haul something out in a flatbed truck hidden under a tarp. The official explanation was a meteor. Nothing to see here. But the town of Kecksburg, they remember a night that defied explanation. So was the Kecksburg incident a cosmic visitor, a Cold War secret, or was it something more? What are your thoughts? Do you think this is some type of government cover-up or just a mistaken identity by a bunch of people?
well,
We know
I
that.
believe it was a satellite.
Oh, stop it! It wasn't a satellite.
I went to Kecksburg this year again, and it's like an
know.
acorn. It's like I don't know, but
Wow.
they did come and take it, and there was some kind of symbols. No, John
And there's people
Ventry
at Wright
and
Patterson that
yeah,
claim that they were there when they
yeah,
came in, and they weren't allowed to look under that blanket either, or the tarp.
yeah. But I've interviewed John Ventry and Stan Gordon. John and Stan go at it like crazy because Stan believes it is something extraterrestrial, but John Ventry, he used to be a former Pennsylvania field
Yeah.
investigator and director, and he says he did research, it's all satellite. The code, the symbols revert back to Russian satellite. So I don't know,
Mm.
but it was a great show tonight.
Absolutely. I had a great time. Richard,
Yeah.
thank you again. You're the MVP of the episode. We loved your story. And that's a pop in, everybody. For if you're watching, feel free. You can join the show. We'd love people
Yeah, we'd love
to
to. We used to
come
do this
on.
all the time. We would
Yeah.
just shoot the breeze. So what's on the agenda for next week? We're going to do more episodes of the X-Files, or are we going to do the 30 Days to Halloween movies? What horror
Oh,
movies or
let's
scary?
do movies.
Okay. Next week
Yeah.
is movies.
Yeah, you and I will figure out maybe a couple of movies, good horror movies, like classics. You know what I mean? And then talk about some of them because we had a lot of fun when we talked about this. We had a lot of fun
Mhm.
last week when we talked about Poltergeist. Let's keep
Yeah,
that theme
definitely.
going.
Yeah, for Halloween.
Yeah.
Thank you so much,
Thank
Richard, for
you,
coming
Richard.
on. We appreciate it. So it was a really good night. And you can make sure you share. If you're watching this after the live, make sure you share the link, spread the love because we really need you. Without you guys, we don't go anywhere.
Very true.
And so for that, we shall leave it. And we have to do this quick because we have something on the end. Okay. All right. I'm doing it fast.